Excuse me. All right, we'll give this a couple minutes, let people kind of fill in the room here. Mike, do you want to check to see if you have share features, if you have any, like anything you're gonna be sharing tonight? Um, or do I? Yes? Okay. Yeah, my fun the past couple of days, and I don't know what I'm gonna do about it yet, but I use these Wacom tablets and they're kind of old. And I have and they have mice that go to them, like wireless mice. I actually have a couple of them. And I have a problem with every single one of them I have now where I'll hit my left button once and it acts like a double tap. And I'm constantly like resizing screens and it's driving me crazy. I have to very forcefully and purposefully tap one time and hope it doesn't like, think I'm zapping it or whatever. But yeah, so that's my fun with my computer the last couple days.
So we know what to buy you for Christmas, is what you're saying?
These things are so old, I don't even know if I could find a replacement, but I did find a YouTube just the other day on how to disassemble them and clean them.
Uh,
So,
that'll help.
so I'm going to try that first. I'm going to try and disassemble and clean them and put them back together, um, and see if that helps. You can find them on YouTube, but uh, yeah, if I have to put out the call for a new tablet, I'll have to call it brand new. Mine is, oh, I have to flip it over to look. I think they call it the N203, and they're probably at like number 17 by now or some.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually, my wife just got upgraded her computer, bought a new used computer. So she's going to be, I'm getting the hand me down of hers, but I have to wait a little bit because I don't know if we can show it to you here. I have this big old tower sitting next to
Oh
me,
yeah.
and I've got 4 hard drives in there, and each one's
Wow.
like a terabyte. Actually, one of them's my backup drive's a 3 terabyte backup drive. Uh, I've got a lot of memory. It's like, who needs a cloud? Yeah, that's the way I wanted to do it. I don't want to deal with cloud. Even with these Zoom meetings, I have an option to record to the cloud for a monthly fee, and I'm like, I got too much hard drive space. But now the one that she's handing me down has one internal hard drive, and then any other hard drives I hook up to it have to be externals. So I just ordered, and it's coming from China, so it's kind of a haphazard purchase, but it's getting here. A three bay hard drive enclosure. It's not actually even not an enclosure. It's like a plug and play. Now I can plug in these hard drives, um, and it's helpful because I must say I've got probably uh, close to a terabyte of Zoom videos recorded just from these meetings in the past We started our monthly meetings in January of 2019. We started these cannabis conversations a little over a year ago. I believe it was June or July of 2020.
Sounds right.
And and I really don't need to be recording these to my hard drive. We've got somebody else coming in, and then we should get started here. We really don't. I don't really need to be like putting them in on my hard drive or on my hard drives. Really, most of them, at least the ones that we live stream, because they all get uploaded to YouTube, and YouTube we can use their storage. We'll use that.
Cool.
All right, let me kind of get ready to get started here. Let me find our disclaimer. That a little bit. All righty, folks. We are at 5 after, starting a little bit later than usual, but I was rambling about computer stuff. My name's Scott Weldon. This is the South Carolina Normal Cannabis Conversation. All of our meetings are an environment of education and awareness and are not an open market for the sale, purchase, or distribution of cannabis. We do not encourage or condone illegal behavior of any kind. I think I'd know that off the top of my head, and I still have to read it each time. All righty. Again, my name's Scott Weldon with the South Carolina chapter of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, lovingly known as NORML. Welcome to everybody that's here on the Zoom meeting with us. Welcome to everybody who may be watching this live streaming on our YouTube channel. Welcome to anybody who's watching it as a recording on our YouTube channel. Mentioning YouTube, I just like to point out we do not monitor the YouTube feed. So if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them down and below. We'll revisit the questions in a couple of days after YouTube's done rendering the video, and then we'll try and address the best we can your questions, comments, and concerns. Let's see here. Where are we? No real big news that I want to talk about before we kind of get started. I believe there was a banking act at federal level that was moving through a committee. And to be quite honest with you, I have not been paying attention the past couple of days. So any activity that is going to be going on is absolutely going on federal level. And again, nothing exciting here on state level, except to let you know we have reached out to other gubernatorial candidates and even some other legislative candidates to be hopefully joining in on our conversations over the next, we'll say at least a year. You know, primaries are probably going to be in June of next year, so that's 10 months away. We'll probably get a lot more of it at that point, but even still before the generals in November of next year, hopefully we'll have the primary candidates on again and talk about their position. Can you imagine if we get Henry McMaster coming in and talking to us about his position on marijuana?
It's college use anyways.
Yeah. All right. So we are, I need to kind of just open up my notes to see what I've got here. Oh, look at that. I have an old one. Bear with me a second here, folks. I lost track of where exactly I am on my computer. There we go. That's the button I want. I've got like a dozen tabs open on my one screen, and it's just sort of bogging everything down. All right. Tonight's topic for the cannabis conversation, we have our friend and guest Michael Harvey with us from, he's a cannabis nurse educator from the American Cannabis Nurses Association. That's hard to say all in one breath. He's going to talk to us a little bit about cannabis research condensed. Welcome to Cannabis, and tell us how he uses cannabis.com to do his research. Is that pretty accurate description, Michael?
I think that nails it down perfect.
All righty. I'm going to shut off my mic and let you have at it. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, everybody. I really enjoyed last week's discussion with Scott on PubMed and how to dig up research. One of the things that I found with research as a cannabis nurse is there's a ton of research out there, so it can get very overwhelming with, trying to rapidly find things. One of the tools that most of the cannabis nurses are using is called Cannabis, and unfortunately, it's not free like PubMed. So I personally would not recommend it for you to use unless for some reason, you're doing a lot of research. They do have shorter trials and you can get it by the month, but it's not cheap. But it's very, very beneficial. I just wanted to run you through what its options are and how it can help strengthen research and find out what research is out there. I do want to add, I do not work for this company. I pay them a lot of money to view their stuff, but they don't pay me back. So first off, this is the loading page for Cannabis. It allows us to do research by medical condition, cannabinoid specific, terpene, organ systems, and a couple other odd things. So I want to go into medical conditions first. And I know that last week,
Are you sharing a screen with us,
is it
Mike?
not showing up? Oh, goodness gracious. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me know if you should see.
There we got it.
Okay,
There we go.
I do apologize. So I'm gonna go back home. So Cannabis has the diagnosed medical condition, cannabinoids, terpenes, and organ system. We are gonna look up medical conditions to start with. The nice thing is everything is in a drop-down box. So let's go with something we're all familiar with and interested in, if I can find it. We'll use, how about colitis? So the advantage to this site over PubMed is I can click on a diagnosis and it pulls up everything into one picture. So just off of colitis research alone, there's 31 primary studies out there. There are 22 related studies. Getting more specific, I can now see that there is 2 double-blind human trials. There are no clinical human trials, they're all double blinds. A lot of meta-analysis and of course animal studies. There is for this particular diagnosis, there is no FDA approval, and even in the European Union, there is no approval. According to the results from the research that's been done, they're saying that cannabis is 87% effective. We can also look at clinical dosing. So in these 2 clinical trials, it will tell us on these 2 randomized ones what dosage of cannabis was used. Was it a high potency cannabis? Was it a 1-to-1 cannabis ratio, or was it higher CBD? You can also see how it was taken. So this top study was, of course, by ingestion, gives you the dosages in the research and the year. Let's see, let's go back. So if you look in the middle of the screen, it has studies by chemotype. So there's 3 basic recognized chemotypes. You've got high THC, 50-50 ratio, and the chemotype 3, which is almost pure CBD. So as you see here, most of the research has been centered on a CBD-rich chemotype. That would be important if you were looking for something specific related to THC. To the right of this, you can see all the studies. The United States, of course, has by far the greatest research that's been done on colitis and cannabis. and then followed by Canada. We get to drop down just to a synopsis, which kind of helps give you a better idea of this condition and cannabis use. But most impressive, just like you're going to see in PubMed, are all the different articles. And you can literally click on a study under the details, and it will tell you a brief overview so that you can make the decision, do I want to even look at this? Such as, this is using a high CBD, low THC. So the scales, that's the first thing you'd look at. It's done in Canada and Italy, and it's 2021. So it's probably a valid link, an article that would be beneficial. So then you can actually click on it and read the abstract. Some of these will have the complete abstract that's free of charge, which you would also get through PubMed. And actually, this is going to link you to PubMed. Let me see. I want to get. And that's pretty much, and then it goes into the related studies. So these are studies that maybe cannabis was used for something else in the GI tract, not specifically to colitis. Now, if I want to get let's go with something that is more studied. So anxiety and panic disorders. So this one's got 13 double-blind human studies. So we're being told that there is not enough research out there. There's 5 clinical human trials. To me, that's pretty in-depth. But looking at the left side of the column, you can actually click on just what you're looking for. If I'm only looking for double-blind studies, you click that, and the main screen will change, and you will only see the double-blind. And again, you can see that all they've been looking at is high CBD. As things progress, we will hopefully see more THC used for some of these conditions. Out of the clinical dosing, out of those 10 studies, if you can clearly see that for anxiety, how much CBD they used, it was by ingestion, high dosage of 300 milligrams in a single dose, from the year 2019. So for me as a cannabis nurse, this helps to decrease that research time. So if I'm on a website and I'm talking with somebody regarding their medical condition, and obviously none of us are going to know enough at any point in time, it's easy just to quickly look this site up, and you can reference medical research that's been done on cannabis for that patient, for that condition. The other thing that's really nice on this is you can, if you're interested in just the cannabinoids, you can do a cannabinoid search. So let's stay away from the normals. Let's go with the CBDA, for instance. It will show us that there's only 17 primary studies and 12 related studies on this. But if you drop down lower, it'll show you that studies by organ system. So here the nervous system is the most studied organ system with CBDA. And then it talks, you can go down and look at the receptors. So we all know about CB1 and CB2 receptors. Well, there's actually 42 other receptors that cannabis, both THC and CBD, will interact with. So it's very important to know that this is how we determine whether or not your medications are going to affect you if you're taking an SSRI or if you're taking an opiate or something. In a nutshell, this is the most coolest site that I have found that will definitely help us with a quicker research. And I only wanted to bring this up because I know that the gentleman that does the books for the the THC that Scott talked to us last week, they use PubMed, and that's got to take a century to do. I can't imagine doing that job. Does anybody have any questions or would like me to look up something specific for them?
Well, of course, I'm going to have questions. So,
Give it to me.
uh,
What you got? What you got?
um, similarly to last week's discussion, where I think I mentioned I was sending up off a book of the emerging clinical applications to a local legislator, to a state legislator, um, who expressed they didn't necessarily, but their people, whoever that I was speaking with, expressed that they deal with Crohn's, but Crohn's wasn't something necessarily specifically listed in the book, and so our advice is to look at related type things, which they talk about GI disorders. Similarly is how I'm kind of seeing Cannabis here, with some of the related studies when you were like highlighting the colitis. But then some of those related studies under the colitis one I saw were related to Crohn's and other probably GI related type things. So, do you find that kind of similar here, that well, here on Crohn's, it's got 15 primary studies and then 25 related. So that's kind of interesting. Um,
So those related maybe on things like severe diarrhea or colitis or any number of intestinal related diagnosis.
right. Very nice, I think, the way that sort of interacts with those other related studies. Um, the
So,
other question is, when you're going down through your filtering on the left-hand side,
yes, sir.
let's say you wanted to look up a couple of uh, whatever you were going to look up, a couple of different cannabinoids. Does that allow you to check multiple boxes? So if I wanted to check in like CBG and CBN at the same time, and then it'll give me all that somehow?
That's a good question. I've never tried to search. I don't believe so. I think you're going to be limited to one. I don't believe there's a multi-group. And most of the cannabinoids have some similar effects on the body. Some of them have a little bit better anti-inflammatory. So,
Okay, I think what I'm seeing is on the left-hand side. It's kind of hard to tell on my screen. On the left-hand side, there's like some check boxes.
right.
That's probably just to filter down that specific study. Let's say it was on Crohn's. You could filter that down. Let's go back to one of those
You go back to
ail,
the,
to the ailment one.
okay, you want the ailment?
Yeah.
It'll take a second to load. Or not.
That'll let me stretch my screen a little bigger.
No, for some reason we're not loading. There we go. Okay. For some reason we're not loading.
Go ahead and reselect it or something.
All right. So
There, those. Can you like click multiple boxes on that
in this you can.
filter? In that
If I-
filter. Okay, in that
If
filter.
I only want to know double blind, anything with just humans, yes, I can choose those. It'll change the top. If I want to know just THC. So in this one, there's literally nothing. If you add double blind with THC for alcoholic liver disease research dashboard. So
Okay, interesting. I like that. I like that filtering on there. That's very
yeah,
interesting.
it does speed things up because there's just so much information out there.
I agree. Yeah, all of our opponents to say there just needs to be more research done. There's a lot of research out there.
There is.
Um,
There is. And it's, and it depends on if our opponents are talking only US research. But if you include Canada and if you include Great Britain and of course Israel, there's probably more research on cannabis than there is aspirin. So
well, yeah, and of course that's always one of my big rants when we talk about U.S. research, is that's controlled by not a scientific organization, not a medical organization, but research into cannabinoids is controlled by the Drug Enforcement Agency. They are not a scientific or medical related agency at all. They're an enforcement agency. They are the last people that should have control over the research of this product. But
Right.
there's my rant for you all tonight. And that's why we have so little US research on THC and on cannabis, is because of the controls on on permitting it. Really, it needs to be handed over to another agency, deschedule it. And I forget what the new federal act is calling for. The health departments should get involved, that kind of stuff, and not enforcement agencies controlling how we get the research done.
So that's Cannabis in a nutshell. I will turn it back over to you, Scott, if you would like to head on. If anybody has any questions, I'm always available.
Okay, I am going to just take a moment, and if you'll turn off your share. Is your share still on? Oh no, my screen just got huge there. Never mind. There we go. Now I get to share a little bit. All right. Just for any of you who wanted to know a little bit more, Cannabis 360, you can get a 1 week free trial. I've looked at the free trial offer and I thought, 1 week, I got a plan when I start this to get the most advantage of it. Because me, I didn't want to start the other day because I probably would have forgotten about it. And by the time I picked it back up again, it would have been almost expired. And like Michael said, it's not necessarily inexpensive, but if you're going to some sort of, looking for some education information, a good example, Michael, is taking some classes in cannabis. He could tell more about it. I don't want to, but hey, he's taking classes, so this really helps in the research of it, and or anybody who's really interested in the medical research that's been done with cannabis at this point, because this is predominantly what we're talking about, the medical research here, not other safety related type things. I don't believe that research would be listed here. But here I wanted to show you, if you wanted to, you get your 1 week trial, and then for medical condition only, $15 a month on a month-to-month basis. So if you only need it for a month or so, not too bad. 6-month plan, you can save a little bit, save 33%, $60 or $10 a month for a 6-month period. And then they have their full access, which is a little bit more money, as you can see. So just wanted to sort of show you that. I did share the link to the chat, their main link. So if y'all want to go and check it out a little bit, go and check that out. My suggestion might be, sign up for the free offer for the week and kind of compare it to pubmed.gov and just look at the benefits that it might have in your streamlining your research. So that's about my only comments on it. Any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns for any of our viewers tonight?
I see there was a question in the chat.
Oh, thank you. All right, Michael, there's a question for you in the chat from Josh asking, what is it you do as a cannabis nurse in South Carolina? And I see you responded in the chat.
So yeah, for all, I'm not actually active as a cannabis nurse here in South Carolina. I am on the board of directors for the South Carolina Compassionate Care Alliance, of course, the American Nurses Association. I like to hang out with the normal group. I'm getting ready to apply for a job with a company called Leaf. 411, which is actually a cannabis nurse consult group that you can call and you can say, I've got this medical condition. My doctor won't provide me any information. Would cannabis help for colitis, for instance? And we can provide basic information on different options, help explain side effects, drug interactions, things like that would help a patient utilize THC or CBD with a decreased risk of injury, by just overdoing it the first time.
All right. Thank you for that. Let me just kind of double check, see if there's any other chat in here. Okay, not a whole lot going on question wise, I don't think from here on. Gee, 7:30. What do we do? I think we'll probably wrap up just a little bit early tonight, folks. If you don't have any other comments or questions or concerns for Mike. I'm not sure what we're going to have as our topic again next week. I don't want to put it out there too much. I do have, like I say, a couple of folks I've been trying to reach out to. I'm also trying to watch what's going on a little bit at federal level before next week. And depending on how our Vaughn is doing with the new little one, I've got to touch base with her to see when she might be ready to talk about certificates of analysis. I think she'd rather spend a little time with her baby for a while though, so we'll see how that plays out. Otherwise, notes. I don't have anything off the top of my head that I need to discuss with anybody. We are still pushing forward with our event in January. Just kind of want to put that out there. We as our board here and at Normal are renewing some of our efforts on reaching out to a couple of other nonprofits. It will be not too distant future till we do open up the invites to some other retail type vendors, but we want to make sure we nail down at least we haven't figured the exact number of nonprofits we want to have, but we know we want to get a couple. And we also know there's a couple of the candidates that are talking about possibly coming and participating with us at that event. So we'll keep you filled in on that. Like I said, we're going to be flushing that out a little bit more through this week as far as some of the forms for finalization to get those out to the participants and going from there. Other thing, wanted to real quick let you know our new t-shirts. I don't have one on, but the black one that has our logo on the front, South Carolina Normal, real big on the back, says working to reform marijuana laws. We just placed another order for some today. So we had been out of mediums for a while. So if you need a medium, you can go ahead and place your order now. You can place it before they get back in stock, but we should have them back in about 2 weeks or so. And that's kind of it for tonight. Look for us again next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And otherwise, as always, visit us on our social media at on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And last but not least, go to our website, scnormal.org, scroll all the way down to the bottom and sign up for our monthly newsletter. That's all I got. Michael, thank you so much for your presentation tonight. I think it was very informative. And thank you all of our guests for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you back here next week. Have a good night, y'all. And let's get to